We are back, guys. This is stream number 3 tonight. If you are new to the Premed Productivity Expert, it is me, Dr. Andre Pinesett, giving you real, honest, truthful, actionable advice that you can get better with here on YouTube. I also offer online courses. If you have not taken one of my online courses, you are slipping, you're letting yourself down. You will go so much further than this 20 minutes that I do here on YouTube. My courses are amazing, guys. If you have not had a chance, check out my website, www.premedproductivity.com. We talked in the last session about turning something from a hobby to something that's legitimate, and that's what I've done, guys. My passion has been helping people and teaching people and helping them get better, and now I've translated that into something legitimate, and that is my business. It's premedproductivity.com. Please check it out. My courses are off the freaking hook, so check those out if you haven't already. So, man, some of you guys are fast on here answering these questions. I said I'm only answering the first 2 questions. Okay, so because you guys are so fast, I'm gonna do a couple questions. I'll try to do a couple more. We'll try to do them fast. Okay, so fast action. Getting on here. Mike Brown. I had a low community college GPA. I transferred to a university, and my GPA is only based on the classes I take there. It is very high now. How will medical school view this? Well, your question is wrong based on the premise. So when you say that you transfer from a community college to a university and now your GPA is only based on your university, that is not accurate. So medical schools are going to ask for all your coursework you've taken. So those community college GPA, that community college classes are going to weigh down your MCAT or your medical school calculation for your GPA. So it's very important that whatever classes you've taken out at the university that you really excel in, because you have to overcome that low early GPA. What works in your favor is what we call the uptrend, right? And that uptrend is really important because medical schools care more about who you are now and not who you were in the past. And so you want to focus on having that steady, nice uptrend where you're continually getting better and better and better and better and better every quarter, every semester in the classroom to get yourself to medical school. At the same time, it's really important, and sometimes students have this issue where they have this nice uptrend and they have a bad quarter. And then they get right back on their uptrend and they have a bad quarter. And they get back on the uptrend, and overall, yes, they did improve, but they had these continual quarters where they were doing bad. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, they strung them together. And so what I want to encourage you guys to do is not do that, because that undermines that uptrend. It shows them that, yes, you can put effort in, but you're not consistent. You put the effort in, and then you're not consistent. What they want are consistent high performers. And so you want to keep that uptrend going nice and steady upwards and not having any setbacks. That's really, really important to make that uptrend legitimate. So I think that was your question. I hope that was your question. Let me go back and see exactly what it was. So how will medical schools view this? They will view it well as long as you keep making that uptrend and making sure that your overall GPA is strong. So if your community college GPA was a 1.3 and then your university GPA was 3.5 and then averages out to right around 2 point something, that's not going to be good enough. Right? So you got to make sure you take enough classes to make your overall GPA competitive as well. Because all the trend in the world won't help you if you don't have a total, like a cumulative GPA that is strong. That was good. I did that question in 3 minutes. So we are on track to get more than 2 questions done in this session. Did bad in undergrad bio, tips on how to still do well on the bio section for the MCAT, and how to get a publication. Well, Major Yui, I have an MCAT course right now that actually tells you how to do that. My MCAT course, it's on my website. It's $99, guys. Where else can you get $99 prep that will take you to the next level? And as the reviews on the website currently say, these are for people who took the course, the expensive Kaplans, all these courses. My course is better than that because it allows you to take whatever you're doing to the next level. It allows you to enhance your skills and maximize your score. So that's what I would say. But to answer your specific question, how do you do well? Thank you guys who have taken my course and are commenting right now, telling everyone how awesome it is. It is awesome. But for how to do well, if you've done poorly in bio, how do you do well bio on the MCAT? It's very simple. It's like for the same people who ask that question of, do you need the prereqs, right? Do you need the prereqs to take the MCAT? And the answer is no. Because anything you don't know, right? So if you didn't do well in bio, it means you don't know bio well. It means you don't have good study habits. So anytime you have a deficit, it's okay to have that deficit as long as you work to fix it, right? So if you didn't do well in bio in undergrad, don't assume you're all of a sudden going to do well in bio in the MCAT. The way you do that is by shoring up your biology knowledge and shoring up your study skills to do well on the MCAT. So you got to focus actually more than other people will on the bio section. So you have to spend more time and then more efficient time, right? So more high yield time with the bio material to get good at it. You also, right, in order to be able to do that, right, to get that bio material in you have to improve your study skills. So you have to understand why you didn't do well in bio in undergrad, fix those root core issues before you're going to do well in bio in the MCAT. It's not going to be like, oh, okay, I did poorly in bio, so now I'm just going to go learn bio. It's not realistic. So you have to really develop study skills and really develop your biology knowledge. I teach you how to do that in my MCAT course. So check that out on my website, www.premedproductivity.com. Check it out. All right, next question. Alpha Brendan. How do you get into medical school with a low community college GPA? I'm transferring to a university this fall. I was wondering if improving my GPA... That's actually a very similar question to the one I just answered, so we're going to say that answer is the same. How do you get in with a low community college GPA? Show an uptrend, do well in the university, and overcome those low community college GPA grades to get a high GPA. Boom. Did that in 30 seconds, y'all. That's 3 questions in 6 minutes. We are rolling. Okay. What review book do you recommend for DAT? So, Eric... DAT, so my pre-DEN students. So I actually have some pre-DEN students who are taking the DAT who are in my MCAT class and they love it. What I will say about the DAT is that for the DAT, there's a lot less money that test prep companies put into the DAT because it's a smaller pool of students and they're lower spenders. So the DAT materials as a whole, I don't exactly have a favorite with the DAT books is what I mean to say. I don't feel like anyone is particularly strong in standing out. What I will say about your DAT books, and this is why people are taking my MCAT class for the DAT, is it's not so much the books themselves, but how you utilize them. And so if you're going to be studying for the DAT, right, and for those people who don't know or people who are pre-DENs who are early on in their career, the DAT, how does it differ from the MCAT? The DAT is, people like to say, oh, the DAT is easier. It is easier in a sense that it's less comprehensive than the MCAT. However, it is still very difficult because, right, it's a high-level test written for high-level smart people. So the test is very difficult. You can't think that you're just going to go in there and dominate the DAT. And I've had students like that who didn't do well in the MCAT and said, you know what, forget medical school. I'm going to go to dental school because it's lower GPA, which is true. And it has the DAT, which is so easy. It's not an easy test, so you need to study. So when it comes to DAT, right, the book is less important. What's important is how you use the book. And I have 3 real principles when you're taking any standardized test. The first one is you need to make sure that you're spending sufficient time based on your background in test taking and also in knowing things, right? Sufficient time to get where you need to get to be ahead of the curve. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you're a person who doesn't have lots of science background, or if you're a person who's a poor test taker, you need to spend more time preparing for the exam. The second thing, right, does that make sense? So that's the time part of it. The second thing is you want to make sure that your time is maximally effective. And so what I mean by that is that you want to have a study schedule that's functional for you that allows you to be sharp, fully focused, and go 100% at the material every single time you sit down to study. You also want to make sure that you budget out your life so that you're constantly motivated to keep going because it's a lot of material. Then within your study session, you want to have tactics for your studying that allows you to get the most out of those hours, right? So that's the second thing. The third thing is that you want to be question focused. This is a big one, guys. When you prepare for these standardized tests, a lot of people get bogged down in the content. I'm just going to ask you guys, right? This is a simple question. When you guys have, for people who have prepared for the MCAT or prepared for the DAT or are preparing for the DAT, how many of you guys said, okay, I'm going to follow what everyone has always said, right? The traditional path, and I'm going to do content review first. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to read all the books in the world about the MCAT stuff or about the DAT. Then, once I get done with the content, that should take me 2-3 months. I'm then going to take a month and do questions at the end, right? I'll do practice tests, I'll do questions at the end. Then what happens? That content takes you longer than you thought it was going to. It's more stressful, it's more tiring than you thought it was going to be. So then that 3 months or that 2 months turns into the next month and you have no time for questions until the week before the test. And this also happens, right? So for people who've done this, right, comment on this, is where you'll do all the content, and then you'll wait to do the questions at the end, and you'll see a little bit of growth in your score when you're doing the content, and then about halfway through you kind of plateau, you peak. And no matter how much more content you review, you can't get your scores to go up. and then you switch the questions at the end, and all of a sudden your score starts going up, but it's so late that you're doing the questions, you can't get the huge gain from the questions. So what I would encourage you to do, if you're taking the MCAT, the DAT, or any other standardized test, start from day one doing your studying question-focused, question-based, and then doing content off the back end of that, right? So this is what Samantha just said. I decided to postpone my MCAT because I definitely needed more practice, and I didn't want to end up taking it twice. And that's exactly what happens to people. That's why people postpone their test. It's not because of the questions. They spend so much time with the content that they don't see the score gains they want, and they haven't gotten to the questions they wanted to get to. So I would advise you from day one to be question focused, and then to go about doing practice questions the correct way, which is what I lay out in my MCAT course, is how you actually strategically go about getting the maximum yield where you can suck all the good learning juices out of your questions and your practice questions to do well. So that was actually a nice question to be asked by a dental student about the DAT, because you can take my MCAT course and do well on the DAT. I have students who are pre-dental who are taking my MCAT course for their DAT. This is all in that $99 course, guys. Stacey, I'm not joking, guys. It's all in this course. This course is freaking insane. It should be thousands of dollars. But I'm doing it for less than $100 because you guys email me and you say, hey, listen, I can't afford expensive courses, right? I'm working, my focus, if you guys know my website, I'm on disadvantaged and underrepresented students. So I want the students, right, who don't have a shot, who don't have the money, who don't have the resources, who don't have the support to get all these fancy things. I want to bring the apple to you guys. I want to bring the MCAT within grasp for you guys. That's what we're doing, right? My study course, you know what it teaches you to do? It teaches you to be independent of teachers, of tutors, of all these things. And one of the most flattering reviews I got for my study course is that it saved, the person who bought the course, and they said in one semester, they saved more than they spent on my course. They saved in tutoring and office hours. And that makes me feel good because now I'm saving you guys money. And that's what it's about, right? Saving you guys money, giving you guys an opportunity to level that playing field out so that everyone has an opportunity to get where they want to go. So that's what I have to say about your question. I hope those 3 tips, if everybody got those, let me repeat those. Your score on a standardized test is based on 3 things. 1, that you spend enough time based on your prior ability and your test scores or your test skill. The second thing is that you spend that time well by having an effective study schedule and then also having good strategies for accessing the materials within those hours. And the third thing is starting question-based studying from day freaking 1 so that you can get maximal gains in active learning, right, and active recall and retention from your studying from day 1 to really maximize your score, to see gain every single week in your score up to your test date. Cool. All right. So we're at 12:55, guys. We got one more question. Samantha, I've seen you've been asking questions on here. And wait. You know what? I'm going to answer Samantha's question because she's on here all the time, even though she's not the next one in line. Okay, we'll answer 2 questions. So George D says, as a graduating high school student, is it a good idea to buy your lesson and prepare for the MCAT? Absolutely. So the beauty of all my courses is that the earlier you buy them, the more yield you get from them, right? Including the MCAT course, I lay out an entire plan of how you can study for your entire undergrad time to make it so that when you get up to the MCAT, it's not hard for you because you have all the notes prepared, you have all the mentality prepared, you have all the test strategies already in your bank, so that when you get to MCAT study time, you can just focus in and it makes it so much simpler. So I would absolutely advise, if you're an elementary school child, buy that course right now. Get it. www.premedproductivity.com. So Samantha, thank you so much for always being on here, by the way, Samantha. I really appreciate when I recognize names. I really appreciate it that you guys come on here and you guys get on here with me and interact. So Samantha asks, is it okay to include jobs like bartending and waitressing on your resume, or is this better left off? Well, Samantha, I would ask you this. Is bartending something that was so meaningful to you, so impactful to you, that it is the best activity you could put on your application? Now, if it's activity number 14 or 15, fine. But what about the bartending, right? If you didn't do anything special as a bartender, if you weren't like, what's that movie, Coyote Ugly? If you weren't like a bartending artiste where you're lighting stuff on fire, then it's not necessarily, right? That's not an activity that's going to move a medical school admissions committee person to give you the nod. Hey, daily grind, what is up? Right? That's not going to give you that edge. So unless you can do, like we talked about in the last video, right? Unless you can legitimize that waitressing or that bartending in a special way, then it isn't something that you want to have on your application, or you can have it down at the bottom. But I want you to focus on making sure that you have at least, and this is important, guys, I said you don't have to fill up all your extracurriculars, but you should have at least 5 very solid, very strong, above average extracurriculars. Okay, so Pamela, I will answer your question because you keep saying you're next. I will look up there and see if you're next. I will answer your question. Okay, but make sure you have at least 5 really strong activities. And guys, every activity can be a strong activity, but it's how you write it up, right? It's about how you sell yourself, how you present yourself, how you bring it to medical schools, that they have to have you. They have to have you. There cannot be any shakiness in your voice. Oh, I know I'm just a bartender, and no, it's like, man, I was the best bartender ever. My tips were insane because I was the best, right? Those are what you want to bring to them, right? So understand that. All right, so Brant has a question that's kind of offshoot of that, and Pamela, I will get your question, but I just kind of saw this. It said something about atypical leadership experiences. Should you spend time enumerating responsibilities, descriptions, etc., or spend most of the time on impactful stories, anecdotes? That's an excellent question. Let me restate that slower. All right. If you have, so Brant asks, hey doc, if you have atypical leadership experiences, should you spend time enumerating responsibilities, descriptions, etc., or spend most of the time on impactful stories and anecdotes? And Brant, what I would say is, and this is for everybody, guys, and we're going to get into this more. I'm going to have coming up, if you guys missed it, coming up, I'm going to have a webinar, one time only, personal statement, application, advice, expertise coming at you in this webinar. The link will be on my website in the next 24 hours. It is extremely limited seating. We're going to have a small group that we're going to get together and we're going to go through it. And you guys are going to learn how to put the final touches on your personal statement and your application in this session. But to answer your question, the basic layout, everyone write this down. Get your pens out right now. The basic way for you guys to write your activity section. Are we all ready? Everyone got a pen? Pen, okay? First, you should start the activity section out, and this is a common mistake that people make, is they'll use an organizational acronym because that's what'll fit in the top description bar. So let's say I worked for the MMM-SAR 57-67, whatever. It's an organizational acronym, okay? The very, very first thing you should do in the description is to give them one sentence, not more, one sentence about the organization. So if they don't know the acronym or if they don't know the name off the top of their head, they now have an association with that organization. So you say, this organization is involved in providing uniforms for young school children who can't afford uniforms, something like that, right? One line. The military defends the U.S. country from whatever it might be. One line about the organization. The second line then should be a brief, right? It's one sentence description of your position. And you write it in the affirmative first person. You don't say, I was the president. You say, as the leader of this group, as the president, as a tutor, I was responsible for blank, right? So now you've given an organizational description, you've given your position description, and it's only taken 2 sentences. Now you have the whole rest of the box to make that real, make that live, and make that appealing to them. And the way you do this is, just like Brant was saying, anecdotes and stories. So as the president of School Children's Uniform Association, I was responsible for leading initiatives to increase our uniform production. That's your description. Then you say, in my year serving as president, I was able to increase the amount of uniforms we provided by 20%. This was incredibly impactful because there are so many students in America who don't have uniforms. I can relate to this, and it was so amazing to be able to help these students. I can remember one particular letter I got from a student that said blank. Getting that letter made me feel incredible and amazing, and it's that kind of great feeling I want to continue having as a doctor, making an impact with the future children. Bam! That's an activity section that is money. That's how you stand out in your application. That's how you do it, guys. Does everybody see what happened there? Give me a like right now as I block this guy, if that makes sense to you right now. Okay, I'm seeing some likes population. You guys are getting it, okay? So does that make sense? That's what we're talking about doing. We're going to get this webinar next week, and we are going to do that for you guys. We're going to walk through. It's not hard, right? We don't have to make these things super complicated. What I do for you guys is I create basic, it's like cooking recipes, basic instructions on how you get stuff done. Let's get it freaking done. Let's stop playing around, and let's get where we want to go. So we're going to do that next week on the webinar. You're going to see the link come out tonight or tomorrow morning. Get in there right now. I'm telling you, you're not going to want to miss out on this. This is one-time thing to help you guys out and bring it to you guys. Okay? So I hope... Oh, wait. I cannot leave yet. I'm sorry, Pamela. I was going to cut you off. We're at 21 minutes, but I'm going to answer Pamela's question because she said she's next. Let's see if she lied. Is she really next? Let's see. Oh, Pamela, you are next. Okay. All right. So Pamela, here's Pamela's question, and then we're out of here, guys. So Dr. Pinesett, am I disqualified from med school? I have an academic probation on my second semester transcript. It was due to too many W's in a single semester, 3 in a row. So that's a good question, guys. Special topics. So I was on probation. I was kicked out of school. I did whatever. Yes, I will post it on Instagram and Facebook. I will post the link to this webinar on all these social medias. You guys are going to want to get that. Okay. So, so to answer your question, give me 1 second as I block this guy again who keeps coming back. Special situations where you got in trouble. You got in trouble academically. What do you do with that? It's hard to say for sure if you won't have a chance at medical school based on certain things. Being on academic probation will not keep you out of medical school entirely as long as the rest of your transcript looks really good. So if you delivered in the classroom after that time, then you will be okay. But, right, because probation is what it is, right? It's a warning. And plenty of people go on probation and they get to medical school. There's plenty of people who are in medical school and get put on probation. So probation is just a warning. So as long as it was for W's, it wasn't for cheating, right? And it was probation, you should be fine. You're going to want to make sure that the rest of your academic record is outstanding. You have no other red flags and concerns for you being a bad person, so make sure that's okay. The thing I will also say is we go from probation to kind of being expelled or being dismissed. If you've been dismissed from a university, it's really hard to get dismissed from a university. And if you get dismissed from a university and the reason is kind of funky, you would probably be in trouble applying to medical school because they're going to ask you, right? One of the questions in the application is, have you ever been dismissed? Have you ever been disciplined? All these things, right? They'll write out there and you have to say yes or no and you have to sign it. It's like certified, it's real deal. And if you have ever had that happen to you, you really have to have a really good explanation for explaining it because they're going to ask you what happened. So you have to be able to, give me 1 second, guys. You have to really, really be able to explain it away because the question, right, and we always ask ourselves, right, this is what I encourage you guys to do, is be strategic and think think about what you want, but think about how to get it and think about what other people want. So if you're a medical school admissions committee, every year you get more applications from more qualified applicants than you can handle. So that means if you need 100 people to fill your slots, you get 10,000 qualified applicants applying to your school. Think about that, right? Because everyone knows the statistics, right? Only half of the people who apply get into medical school. But of the half who didn't get in, a lot of those people were qualified. A lot of those people had good stats, had great stats, but something went wrong in their application. Maybe they didn't get reviewed, whatever it might be. And so if you're a medical school, if you have the opportunity to take all these outstanding candidates, why would you risk taking a flyer out on someone who's been dismissed from their university? Right? Think about that. It's like if you're a guy, right, and you're looking at a girl, or let's do a girl, guys were bad. If you're a girl, right, and you see a guy, I guess that's a bad analogy because girls like the bad guys. You guys like them criminals. But for the guys, okay. So let's say you're a guy, and there's a girl, right? And she looks good, okay? And that's probably a bad scenario too. I should not say that one. Okay, so regardless, let's be strategic. Let's just say what I mean is you're less willing to take a chance on an unknown or someone who has a blemish on their mark if you know you have a perfectly acceptable candidate right over here, right? So it's like you don't cheat on your significant other if your significant other is amazing, right? Because it's a known quantity, that's amazing. You've got that there. Why would you mess around? People who cheat are like, they're all right, right? And they step out. But you got a known amazing quantity right here. Why would you take a shot? And that's the way medical schools think is we don't need to take a chance on someone who's dismissed because we get all these great applicants. And so it's really, if you guys are young people, if you're in high school, if you're early in your college career, do whatever you have to do to not get in these situations, right? Again, preparation. Be thinking ahead. If you start to see trouble coming down the road, be proactive. Reach out to your teachers. Reach out to the deans. Reach out to people. Let people know that you're having issues and you need help before it gets to the point of you getting kicked out of school. Because it's really hard to come back from that. And I appreciate you guys who are reporting this idiot who's on here spewing all kind of profanities and racial things on this feed. I appreciate you guys. Ignore that. Okay, we're going to stay on the positive side of things and keep things rolling positively. So that is your question answered, Pamela. Thank you very much. That is all we are going to do for this stream. I'm not doing another stream tonight, but I'll tell you guys what. I will do another stream tomorrow, Saturday. I will do another stream tomorrow at what time works for people? Let me think. We'll do another stream at 1 p.m. So 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow on your Saturday. We'll do another live stream. I'm sorry, was it Keyshawn? I'm sorry to answer your question. I will get your question tomorrow. If you email me, I'll try to get some of you guys' questions who I didn't get to tonight. Please, send me your questions. The email address is andre@premedproductivity.com. And just to kind of close this out, a couple things. One, if you guys have not already, get over to my website and check out my courses. They're amazing, right? It's all about systems, keeping it simple, and getting you where you want to go. The second thing is check my website, check my social media for this evening and for tomorrow. I'm going to post a link for you guys to sign up for a webinar that's going to come up one time only, personal statement and application support. I'm going to be helping you guys out. So check that out. And the third thing is keep coming back. Tell people about this YouTube channel. Let's, again, continue to build our community of positive people trying to get this truthful advice and get where they want to go. So thank you guys so very much for being on here with me tonight, as always. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on this channel. All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.